welcome to ET Now. You're watching Startup Central, India's only daily show dedicated to startups, entrepreneurship and technology. And what a power-packed year 2018 has been for the Indian startups, from regulatory changes to constant flow of big fat funding cycles. The year was interesting on many fronts. Let me take it across to my colleague Rahul Dayama, who's also joining in to take us through the top 5 trends that have defined the startup ecosystem in India. Rahul, over to you. What really stood out for you this year?
Well, as you described, 2018 has been a very interesting year for Indian startups. Let's go trend by trend. We've curated the top 5 trends that will define the Indian startup ecosystem even in 2019 to come. The first big highlight was it has really been a mega year for unicorns, because we have seen 9 unicorns who have crossed the 1 billion valuation mark. And that's why this is interesting, because month on month we saw these massive funding rounds of $500 million, $1 billion that really saw new unicorns come to the fore. Previously, the likes of only Flipkart, Snapdeal, Paytm, Ola were really on the list. In fact, 2017 did not see a unicorn at all, but this time we saw 9 companies that crossed the 1 billion valuation. In fact, SoftBank has a very big role to play, because they were back with the bank to come out there and invest in these startups, because a lot of them who've raised funding from SoftBank, because remember, SoftBank always writes these big checks, and that's the reason the valuation also peaks up. So the unicorns this year have been Oyo, which has commanded a 5 billion valuation. Remember, they led multiple rounds this year. Also, they've forayed into international markets also, as you can see. Oyo, Byju's, another edtech startup, backed by the likes of the Mark Zuckerberg Chang initiative. They are one of the startups that recently closed a massive round and are on top as far as the unicorn list is concerned. In fact, they come closer to the top 5 players as far as unicorns are concerned. Swiggy at 3.3. Fintech has also been a very, very crucial year. We have seen multiple funding raised, and also them really identifying the delivery hub scope model also. So Zomato also, we saw Paytm Mall. Remember, Paytm had heaved off its multiple entities, so we have seen Paytm Mall, Freshworks, BillDesk, Udaan, and Policy Bazaar also. Policy Bazaar and Udaan certainly out of nowhere. Udaan operating in the B2B business, and that did come as a surprise, because a lot of these names one hadn't heard before. They really went on to become unicorns. So this will really be the first trend that we saw 9 unicorns emerge this year itself in 2018. Coming to the trend 2, and something that really impacts all tech companies across size and scale, because we finally saw the data protection report submitted by former Supreme Court Judge Justice Sri Krishna, who spent a lot of time evaluating what should really constitute data protection, how much of privacy aspect has to be taken care, apart from really industry concerns also. So as far as data protection really came by, this was keenly being looked out for a long time now, because remember, India does not have a comprehensive data policy until now. It's up to the government now to take the recommendations forward and enact a law and come out with some more clarity. But the key highlights really was that, we saw personal data, the way it has to be accessed will be clear and only for lawful purposes. So it highlighted that, privacy concerns have also to be taken care of. All foreign tech firms, in fact, all firms will have to appoint data protection officers in the country, signaling the fact that data is very crucial to the scheme of things and how they want companies to be answerable for it. The most important factor was on data localization. Remember, there was a massive debate on what stand will the Justice Sri Krishna committee take on it. They sort of took a middle ground approach, saying for most of the data, it will be a mirroring of the data, but for critical data, especially especially the likes of, financial data, all of that personal data has to be stored and processed in India alone. So that was some clarity that came by on that front. Also, there was a very interesting part where user consent was also crucial and could override the entire aspect. Penalties was also suggested. But as I told you, the big takeaway really will be going ahead. Justice Sri Krishna earlier this year, once the bill, he suggested that the government seems very, very keen on pushing this through. We'll have to wait and see what comes by after the cabinet also considers it. So that was the trend to the fact that data protection report was at the forefront. Trend 3, and the reason is not only because it impacts our daily life, but also because a lot of tech firms were also involved, Aadhaar as well.
Absolutely, Rahul. Those are the most important two trends that you've talked about. While Justice Sri Krishna's report, we're still waiting to hear from the government on that. The big verdict that really came in, and you were in fact talking about it, the Aadhaar verdict, how it really changed lives for a lot of these fintech companies. That is also something that we really looked at in 2018 and 2019. What can one really expect in terms of what's happening to Aadhaar, what happens to those fintech companies? The government is talking about bringing a legislation in place to ensure that Aadhaar data can be used by these fintech companies as well. What is it that we can look forward in 2019?
In terms of regulatory clarity, as I was talking about, the Aadhaar verdict meant so much because the entire plan of having India Stack, Innovate for India, Solve for India, the massive UPI boom, to say a lot of innovation was really built on the Aadhaar platform, easy access to data, and it did come as a massive setback that the Section 57, that sort of provides for facilities for private entities to have access to the Aadhaar database, that was really scrapped down. So that came as a massive setback. In fact, startups were really looking for a lot more clarity on that front. So, apart from what one gets to link to their Aadhaar number and not, the verdict also cast shadows on what really happens to all the innovation that was being led by private entities, especially around startups that were using this data to push financial inclusion. So, fintech startups were clearly hit. Also, companies have started looking for some viable solutions, how they can also use offline Aadhaar, so to say. But that's something that they're innovating. They're looking for some more clarity. The government, including IT Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad, has indicated the government will take some steps. While the verdict is out, the government can also really initiate some steps to ensure there are some amendments to the Aadhaar Act to give limited access to startups and how they can build on from there. So 2019 will also show how these fintech companies, if they don't get access to Aadhaar database, how will they really build on the innovation that has really taken off. And moving on, Ruchi, to the fourth trend, really, privacy was at the helm.
Right. In fact, Rahul, that was supposed to be my next question. The big debate around privacy, the big debate around what's happening with WhatsApp. We did cover in a big way how the government was arm twisting WhatsApp to bring in an Indian head, store their data here, and of course, look at a solution to the issue of fake news. How important will be going forward in 2019, how the government deals with the issue of fake news, given the fact that it's going to be an election year?
It's of course WhatsApp, Facebook-owned WhatsApp faced so much of criticism this year over the issue of fake news. Government went on to tell them that, mob lynching is a reality and you must do all you can to, in fact, stop the menace. You have the tech and tools to ensure that the spread of fake news by your platform does not happen. So in fact, there was a big showdown between the government and WhatsApp over the issue. While government asking for specific details from WhatsApp, asking them to appoint a grievance officer here, a local India head, and also clearly asking for the message traceability option. Government wanted to know who really starts off, where do some messages originate, so law and order problems can be dealt with. But initially we saw WhatsApp sort of stick its neck out and say, we will not compromise the end-to-end encryption that we firmly stand for, because that's something that the platform really stands for. So we will not undermine the privacy concerns that can be wrongly used. We will not weaken them up, and they will in fact educate people and tell them how to not spread fake news, educate the masses. Because remember, for WhatsApp, India has been a very, very crucial market, one of the largest ones, really, more than 20 crore users here. So WhatsApp stuck its gun and said, we will not. But seems like the Indian government has its plans formed to put to task these complaints, because they are considering some amendments to the IT Act looking at larger social media monitoring and ensuring that social media companies are answerable. In that, the end-to-end encryption part may go if the rules are passed. The government has really put that recommendations out before the public.
Absolutely, Rahul. And the fifth trend that we are talking about is that multi-billion-dollar deal, the Walmart-Flipkart deal, that has really changed the way the Indian e-commerce ecosystem is looked at. About $16 billion that was put by Walmart into Flipkart, and thereafter we even saw the two co-founders, one stepping down and the other one had to go because of the allegations surrounding the Me Too debate. What can we expect in 2019 in the e-commerce space? 2018 seemed to be a good year with these e-commerce companies attracting a lot of money. We saw big billion-dollar deals as well. What should 2019 hold for the startup ecosystem?
Well, 2018 was finally the year that we saw clarity come by on Flipkart, because remember, the Indian e-commerce space has seen so much of a shake-up. Last year we saw the rise and fall of Snapdeal in the manner that they have, to the likes of Paytm Mall getting funded by Alibaba, they emerging as a competitor. But it was always about Flipkart and Amazon. In fact, initially there were discussions about how Amazon was also engaging with Flipkart for a majority buy, but it became evident that Walmart really had its eyes on India. After having lost out on the tech battle of US, so to say, and with India only left as the last big market, they had to do everything to really gain it. So the mega funding, the mega deal aside, it was one of the biggest FDI deals also. It also put to spotlight the power of entrepreneurship. Because remember, both the Bansal, Sachin and Binny started Flipkart out of a 1 BHK flat here in Bangalore by being an aggregator for books. In fact, they spoke interestingly about how they themselves went on to go and courier books, find them at bookstores and give it to that meteoric rise and the manner in which the company grew to take on Amazon in a big way. So, but apart from that, it was also a sad year because the poster boys of Indian entrepreneurship, Sachin Bansal, left the company after the Walmart deal. Reports indicating Walmart only wanted one of the co-founders to stay, but he left with 5,000 crore rupees. His stake was valued at that. He's likely to sprinkle a lot of that on the Indian ecosystem. Binny Bansal, remember, came as a big shock after allegations of personal misconduct against him were made public. A former employee had accused, while Walmart maintained nothing substantial came out of the investigation, but Binny still, in the hindsight, did not reveal as much. So Binny Bansal also exited, but 2019 will show if Flipkart can really hold its turf, especially with Amazon breathing closer. We have seen reports indicate Amazon's revenue are growing at a faster pace, but 2019 will show if Flipkart without the Bansals will still be as relevant as it was over the last 8 years.
Those are the 5 big trends that we saw in 2018, and here's hoping that 2019 is a better year for the Indian startups. Rahul, many thanks for joining in. Over now to the exciting world of Fintech, which has changed the payments landscape. The B2B payments platform Razorpay has launched lending for SMEs on its platform, even as merchants lap to formal economy. Rahul Dayama, in fact, got talking with Harshal Mathur, the founder of Razorpay, on the payments war and the data localization debate. Herein.
The idea is that we work with businesses. We work with more than 170,000 businesses now. And the idea was, how can we help them scale faster? How can we help them grow? Because if the businesses grow, Razorpay grows with them. Right? So we saw the problems, and one of the biggest problems in India is SME, access to credit for SMEs. So we're launching Razorpay Capital to enable easy access to credit using Razorpay's data that is generated on our platform. We are generating credit scores for them, and then working with lenders to ensure that they get collateral-free loans if they have a high score on the Razorpay platform itself. The other major thing that we have launched is Razorpay X, which we believe will completely change the way businesses look at banking. So we're bringing everything that a business does with a bank on the Razorpay dashboard itself.
So everything on one platform.
Everything on one. So you don't need to open your banking portal at all. You just open the Razorpay dashboard. You can create accounts. You can accept NEFT, RTGS, IMPS, cash, everything on that bank account. You can do payouts of all forms. You can pay salaries. You can pay taxes. You can pay loan repayments. You can pay your vendors. Everything on the same site.
Got it.
And not just that. It uses AI to give unique insights about your business. So you'll get to know how much your runway is left, or when will you achieve break even, and things like that. Things the bank would never help you.
Also, a lot of insights in terms of trends. But Harshal, we are discussing about UPI. You were one of the first players to launch it, even before we saw the boom. Has that also sort of, pushed growth for you in a big way in terms of what percentage of transactions are happening from the UPI platform? Because the story we talk about is customer side, but business side, what's happening?
No, UPI scaled up significantly in merchant payments as well. So we were the first payment gateway to launch support for businesses to accept UPI. And in the last 1 year, we've seen it scale up from less than 1% to more than 20% of our volumes today. So that itself is a proof that adoption of businesses into UPI is driving the consumer adoption as well. We are now powering UPI for merchants exclusively powering UPI for merchants like AdCTC, Book My Show, Airtel, Oyo Rooms, and so many more. And everywhere we have launched UPI, we've seen a lot of customers shift to that and leaving cards and net banking, all of those things behind.
Apart from MNCs, global tech companies eyeing the e-commerce space now, they're all after payments in India, the boom that we have seen. What's your take with WhatsApp not only looking for a full-fledged consumer payment launch, but business-wise also? They've been talking increasingly about how they want to power it. Do you see that triggering a big explosion of adoption, apart from really giving you a tough competition in this space?
No, we believe whatever is good for the ecosystem is good for everyone, right? So, I mean, the way the pie of digital payments is today is so small that our major competition is not WhatsApp or Paytm or anyone else. Our major competition is cash, the old traditional systems that are being used, the manual processes, right? So anything that helps us, and WhatsApp we truly believe can change the way digital payments are being adopted, because I mean, everything said and done, if UPI is still not 100% mainstream, not everyone's mom and dad is still using, but everyone's mom and dad is using WhatsApp today. So enabling payments via WhatsApp would cause an immense explosion, the like of which we have not seen before. So we are really looking forward to WhatsApp and Facebook and Google and all of them scaling the consumer side of digital payments, because if that happens, then the consumers become more aware, and the more transactions they do on the business side as well, which helps us.
I have to ask you, data localization, the RBI has also mandated. Your views, is it a level playing field? We're still seeing MNC sort of delay, talk about cost issues, the fact that there has to be data mirroring. What does Razorpay stand on the entire?
I believe the regulator stand is not wrong on it. You've seen what has happened, and recently the papers came out from the UK Parliament as well. It's just shown that if regulators don't take proactive actions to protect those things, they might not be in complete control of what happens with their citizens' data. Right? So things like data localization I think that's a very good proactive step from the government to ensure that the data about Indians, the data about Indian consumers stay within India, so that companies and so that regulators can actually subpoena them, ask questions about that. I mean, once the data moves out, it's not in your control.
There's no way that the data is again going to come back in a way.
You can't create regulations around things that are already outside your domain, right? You can't enforce anything on it. So I think that is important that data stays there. Only then a government can create regulations and power sovereignty over it.
All right, moving on then, artificial intelligence and machine learning has changed the way the companies are conducting their businesses as well. But from a cloud perspective, what trends will stand out in 2019? Rahul Dayama was attending the Amazon Artificial Intelligence Day and caught up with Oliver Klein for some perspective.
Right. So I think there are a variety of different things. First and foremost, our mission within AWS is to kind of say, how can we democratize machine learning? So how do we make it available to any kind of developer, IT professional, to any kind of data scientist? And we kind of see that as kind of threefold. The top layer is where we say we make certain artificial intelligence services available to any kind of developer that we fully manage and continue to enhance. We launched a variety of new services such as Amazon Personalize, Amazon Forecast, where you now get access to the same technology that Amazon.com is using without the need to actually understand machine learning. You just bring your data, you call the APIs, and off you go. And you can use those services. Similarly, we have services around computer vision, natural language understanding, speech recognition, chatbot functionalities, etc. That's kind of the top layer where you say you can get access to AI machine learning without the need to actually understand how it works. There are also a few announcements that we made just recently at our annual reInvent conference around this, where we actually opened up an AWS marketplace for machine learning. So we now allow any kind of partner or companies or independent software vendors to kind of create their own machine learning algorithms.
On the already platform that you've sort of established.
Correct. And they can now list their machine learning models, and any customer out there can now use their machine learning algorithms. Currently with 250 different algorithms available for different kind of use cases, industries, etc., that our customers can use, and that our partners now can start monetizing there too.
Got it.
But you've been present in India for a while now. You're seeing increased adoption, not only from enterprises, large companies, but startups also that are looking for the platform. Any specific trend that sort of stands out from an India perspective in terms of adoption of AI or machine learning? Are they more agile to these fast-moving technologies, or have the companies really, been on the back foot really to adopt them?
One of the things that I think is really great here in India, there's a strong sense of entrepreneurship. With a click of a button, I can now create a company and launch my capabilities, my machine learning capabilities, my software that I want to deploy globally with a click of a button, and with a marketplace where I can globally potentially monetize what my company is doing. So one of the other interesting trends that I'm really seeing is that given the advancements that are being made in machine learning, we see a lot of advancement that's being made in the space of computer vision, in the space of natural language understanding and processing, and even automation and robotics, where again we see a lot of interest here of saying, how can we make things a little bit more operational efficient? How can we create complete new channels to interact with my end customer? If you think about something like the Alexa voice services and the Amazon Echo speaker that we have, it's not so much about having a voice assistant. It's very much more about having the ability of having a new channel to interact with your customer. Any company out there can now integrate a skill to give their capabilities out to the voice services. And in a similar gist in Asia Pacific, and also specifically in India, we see a variety of companies that now start integrating and embracing these new channels and look into how can we make use of these new technologies to create a better customer experience.
So from a use case perspective, you would say that AI and machine learning and sort of adoptability is increasing. But from an Indian market perspective, how would you describe the Indian market, in terms of cruciality of operations? I know you would not share specific numbers, but how integral is it to really, the global plans that you have to push this adoption as you move ahead?
Yeah. So again, I think there are very, very much interesting components here to it. The first one is really our Amazon partner network. Here in India, we see a strong adoption of our partner network. Lots of independent software vendors that list their pieces of software to the AWS marketplace. Lots of consulting and implementation partners, in a strong sense there of them not just operating within India, but actually operating globally. And as you know, there's a long history of software development that has happened in India. And again, now here with AWS and overall cloud computing and some of the things about machine learning that we're seeing, again, we now have those capabilities of startup companies that we see, of established companies that can now give their capabilities and again push it out to the world, to a global.
In fact, that's not all. Rahul also bumped into an interesting use case of artificial intelligence that can change our daily lives. Let's take a look at this one.
Here's an interesting use case of AI, MI that the simple common man will understand. So AI has definitely changed the way how companies operate, but could also have an impact on everyday life. So at an environment like this, AI and machine learning can help you in also sort of looking at how they can track parking spaces at malls, and likewise, so could you tell us, how does this work? Traditionally, it's sort of done using sensors, but how is it through image recognition and machine learning that, there's a use case of this?
Okay, so traditionally, though, a lot of sensors-based solutions are there for parking management. So here, if you, for example, in this case, what are the use cases? For example, you're going to a mall or parking mall, or in case you're going to office, you want to know whether is there any empty parking slot. If there is any empty parking slot, where exactly the slot is available. So that is the part we want to know. So how we have done here is we don't use any sensors here. There is a camera which constantly monitors that parking slot. Yeah, this camera. So there is a camera will be constantly monitoring it. Even today, already in a lot of malls, there are CCTV cameras that they are monitoring it. So we take the feed out of it. We just upload to that cloud, and the images can detect that, for example, in a particular parking slot, whether there is a car is parked or not, and also it can even record what is the car number and what is the car details can be put in. So that data can be for a users, like for example, when a user comes into the mall, he can simply log into a mobile application, like we have a sample mobile application where they can simply log in.
And then realize where is the parking space
slot,
and where is it that they can enter.
Exactly.
Cool. Thank you so much. So, this is how it really works. This is sort of the entire demo setup that they have done to sort of give you a view of how this technology works. There's, of course, the Amazon image recognition at place, also the Amazon SageMaker to sort of help people understand how this could play a role. In terms of cost also, it would considerably cut down, considering you don't have to deploy sensors everywhere. Existing infrastructure can be used to really do this.
All right, interesting trends as we head into 2019 of artificial intelligence and machine learning. We take a short break here. We will come back with more news stories on the other side.